Howdy y'all, you got the Bulldog on the channel. Here a couple, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, I don't know, they all run together. Had to get this thing in, put some studs in the back end of it, and they didn't make it home. Nothing to do with the studs that I put on the left rear. Of course, this is my vehicle. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's just par for the course. But it does give us a chance to use a new tool. This is called the hub grappler, and it's got all these anvils and sleeves and presses and everything. We've used it once, and I will say, the threads are already, make sure you lube everything. Lube makes everything better. That's to be able to do the wheel bearings on these things without having to pull the whole strut out, put it in a press and press it. Now on the front end, it's not so bad because you can take that out okay. We got it because of the back end of these stupid things. This here does not want to come out. It's all rusted and everything. That's a sleeve inside of a sleeve, inside of a sleeve, a rubber bushing, and I don't know, people that work on brand new stuff don't seem to understand that up here where they use salt on the roads, that's a bad thing. So you do what you can to be able to change that without having to pull everything apart. We've done one on the rear end of my boss's son's vehicle. So like I say, we've used it once. I hope I don't have to use it on this one. Hopefully the noise that we've been hearing and ignoring for a year and a half is this one right here that's like that. Let's get the wheel off and start the process of yanking this thing all apart. We'll see how this tool works. Now, last week or week before last, I had to put tires all the way around this thing, so it's being fun. Now, you will see right here this rust buildup, it's kind of normal, but that's shiny there, where it's been grinding on the backside. And that's the big noise that I've been hearing. Brakes are in really good shape. Rotors have never been off. That or, whoever put new pads and rotors on it was bored and put these things back on. I think these things are probably original. It's got 170,000 miles on it. And this thing feels worse than it looks. Only on this one do you have these little caps that go in the sleeve. This is where you take the caliper loose, top and bottom. On this one, it is a 7mm hex drive. And you have to have an extension for the top one. Spring off here. Come on. Come on. Anyway, I guess not. Press back. Now, be careful because this inboard pad has to come out with the caliper. And what we have is the groove is cut in really deep on the inside. So it didn't want to come out. I had to press it back a little bit. Tie your caliper up to your strut so that it doesn't fall. Now we're going to be pulling out and yanking around on this, so I want all this to kind of float. So I'm going to take this bolt out here. That way our wire, it doesn't, get yanked on. These clips right here, get underneath of them with a screwdriver or a scraper or something like that. Bend them out to where you can get to them with your pliers. Just get medieval on them and get rid of them because you won't be reusing them. And if you do reuse these, I bet your desk is very tidy. Take an 18 millimeter and zip off this brake bracket here. And as far as what bolts I'm using, that's what this has. This is an 03 Escape. Whatever you have, it's going to be whatever it is, because it's not like they run off an assembly line or anything. It could have literally anything on it. Cover your ears. This axle nut should be 1.25 inches. Now we're going to pull our pinch bolt right here, and there be parts floating. I don't think there should be, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. This pinch bolt has got 15 millimeter nut, 13 millimeter head. I'll run that nut back on there a little bit and chuck a special tool. It's made to drive out bolts without injuring them. Because that thing there needs it. It's really made for wheel hubs that have the bolts, and you put them on the bolt and drive it out that way, but I use it for a lot of different things. Now that the bolt has been drove back most of the way, it comes out. There are some people say you have to reuse that. I'm not going to say they're wrong. I've never reused it and I haven't had a problem. Does it make a difference? Yes. Is it enough to worry about? No. Now, another special tool. This gives you a little bit of leverage, and I'll sit on it and vibrate on this. I had a heck of a rattling noise, and I think it might have something to do with this. We've got another axle sitting down there, so I am going to pull it out of the knuckle and get that axle popped loose, and we're gonna have it out of the way when we work on our wheel bearing here. It's not a have to, but it's something. Now I've got a special tool, a hook, deal that goes on the end of my slide hammer. Makes the job easier. Now all these special tools I'm showing, they don't make the job easy. They make the job easier. They make it to where you're less likely to damage something when you're doing the job. Don't think that they make the job easy to do. Freaking gravity. Shoot. Twist. Moving at all? Okay. There we go. Okay, now that we got everything out of the way, we'll see if we think maybe this was the noise and everything. Not sure. Let's check again. I don't know. Third time? Okay. Now, the last time this was used, we used oil to oil the threads. It just kept on rubbing off. So I put a little bit of just chassis grease on our threads here. We'll run this up real good and it'll get coated. Our book here actually has a guide in it to what you would use where, for what vehicle. So we're working on a Ford, page 10. All right. And we've got an Escape, 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, 01 to 09. Hub removal, 503634. Set this up, run this through like this. Wow, does not want to go in there. Put that piece on the back side there. Spin our big nut on. Now, we just get this thing up tight. There is a lip there for it to go up against. Now we're going to crank down on this here. It's a 1-inch. We've got a wrench on the back side here. We're going to start cranking down on this and see if it takes it. What this is going to do is pull this hub out right here. This just gives you an idea of how I set them fingers. I don't know if it's the right way. Like I say, it's the first time I'm doing this. My boss put the one in his son's truck. I was around for that, but I didn't do every single thing. You can use an impact for this. It's loud. We got lucky on the other one and the race came off with it. Not doing that on this one. That slipped. Oh, okay, well, we'll do this. Back it way up now that we've got it pulled off a little bit. Slide it on up in there. You're not allowed to have everything in one place all at once. I don't want you spoiled, Buck. I've adjusted it to there, which there was not room to do that before I pulled it out half an inch. Should pop apart here pretty quick. There we go. Not a whole lot holding this thing together. Now this has a snap ring right here. We're going to pop this snap ring out of here. We're going to get a cone that sits over top of this, and we're going to draw this bearing out with this cone spacer and riding on this this inside race. We'll use that to draw it on out. Now we'll pull this out and then I'll clean that hole up really good, that groove. I mean, we've got the right combination of parts to pull this with. Start cranking. I'll back that off and give it some more grease. Okay, it's been about an hour of me fighting this. The one that's supposed to be for this was just bulging and going down along this. I used a smaller one to get it started moving, and a lot of cheater pipe. I've got it to where it's moving now and I can use the air on it. Waiting to let the air build back up. This slides down over top of it and mates up where this dust shield mates up. So it's not deforming anything, so we're going to keep using it. I also put the knuckle back in the ball joint so it holds still. And of course, pieces just falling off of it. There's no seal left. There's some bearings not left in there. This never came out, so I drove this here and it didn't fly apart. Small miracles. Now, so you don't forget, clean this thing out. Okay, we've got to get this old race off of here. I don't mind this because that means that this hub is good. If the bearing had locked up and spun on the hub would be shot. There'd be slack here. Having to drive it off means that the hub is still good. No damage. Before you even start, lubricate this hole. I like to use STP. You can't get too much. Now, in reinstalling, I would suggest doing it by hand. I mean, you can do it with an impact. I've done it. But sometimes you just end up with problems. Come on. Get on there. There. It should go back in a whole lot easier than it came out. course, we're using the numbers that they say are supposed to use on this. This one centers in, and you're pushing on the outside of the race. That is important because if you push in the center, you might dimple the bearing and you end up with a noise. The drawback of doing it like this is your arms start to cramp. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to put in this ring here. And we're going to go buff it up on the wire wheel first. This is where cleaning things up beforehand can make a huge difference in how things install. Click. Now we've got the correct anvils, and of course, just like when we installed the bearing, when we're installing this hub, ample lubrication. I mean, really goo it. Pretend you're P. Diddy. All right. This one I'm going to hammer on because it goes the easiest. When it hits, stop. All right, that concludes the bearing installation. And we'll put everything back together just like we've been doing an axle. Okay, we've got the knuckle pulled out of the way so we can get as straight a shot as we can to the shaft. Get this lined up in here. Rock it back and forth. Try to make sure it's lined up, and then pop. When it's right, it's right. Now, as far as putting this thing on the knuckle, I always rotate the wheel away from where you are. It pushes the tie rod out to where you've got a little bit more room to get it started. Now, tool, put some weight on it. Keep rotating this so that it engages. There we go. Things should go fairly easy. You might have to, put a little bit of pressure on it, but usually it's not too bad. Now I get the stobs started in the hole. It never wants to go. Get it lined up. Turn the wheel back straight. Now I look through the bolt hole. And drive until I see the notch go by. Then you get your bolt. I had to drive in the last little bit, but the first part went pretty easy. If things are going wrong, then stop. Double check yourself. Find out why they're going wrong. Sometimes they just want to be really hard. But usually it's because you're doing something wrong. We've got a new nut, but there's no washer. So I'm going to use the old one because it's got a washer. I know you're not supposed to. This lock nut here is not the same as it was because it's been used before. I know. But this is the way I've done things, and I've always had good luck with them. Maybe someday it'll come back to bite me. I'll deal with it then. You can do it the way you want to, or the way the book says. I run it down, I let it hammer. The preload is set between the two halves of the inner bearing. So tight is tight. It has to be plenty tight. Not so tight that it stretches the darned axle, but I've never done that. I've never had a problem doing it this way. I have torqued them before. There are some of the older ones that you were supposed to torque. I torqued them, they lasted a week. I just started running them down with an impact and hammering it, give it some, 4 or 5 ooga-doogas, and it didn't last a lot longer, but it was the quality of the bearing. They were going bad, and we quit using that brand. Okay, I'm going to rotate this. I am going to hit that with a wire brush. I don't have the nice ones that go around the studs. there's that. I'm gonna hit the rotor too. These rotors are a mess, but they're going to get replaced when I do brakes sometime. Honestly, if this thing hits a deer, I won't be doing brakes. So, you know. I should be torquing them. I should be torquing them bolts. I should be cinching them at least, but I'm not. I'm tired and I want to go home. And this is my own vehicle. I know you can't see it, but the sun's gone down. There's been a passage of time. Okay, there. Am I getting it? They're mounted in a little bit of rubber, but still, I start one, and then I start the other one and run it down, and then I tighten the last one. Put this bolt back in. Put these little caps back on. Oh. Put our brake spring back in. This thing can be a little tricky. I poke one hole in, poke the other hole in, and then try to bend it back out and do that. Then you got to hold this in there. It's going to try to jump. Smack it with your pliers or whatever. Is it in there? Yeah, it's in the hole. I put my light somewhere. I don't know where I put my light. There it is. Okay, they're in the holes. That's on there. This is on there. That, we don't want that. Now I'm gonna rotate this back straight. Bend on the bottom of the cover a little bit. Now, those brakes have been chewed up, but after you run on them for a while, they'll even back out. If this were a customer's vehicle, we'd be putting brakes on it. But this is a personal vehicle. We'll put brakes on it later. The big concern to me is whether or not I do all this work and it goes deer hunting in 3 days. If you think my gun sounds different, it's because I turned the pressure all the way down. Because I torque the wheels. Crisscross pattern. Always do the first one last. And then sometimes if that one moves, you do your second one again. You can run the whole pattern again, but usually doing the first two that you've done another time, you get them all torqued correctly. Because that first one will usually loosen up after you've torqued all the others. Just like in NASCAR when they had 5 lugs. They would hit it 6 times. And there it is. As you can see by the darkness outside, I got bothered a little bit this afternoon, but that's normal. You know, every 5-minute job is an hour late. But that's my first time using this hub grappler. Now, in all seriousness, we got this for one reason and one reason only. Those rear wheels, because that is a nightmare to take that arm off and take it to the press. In my opinion, on these, I'll just take this strut out and take it to the press. It would have been quicker, probably would have been easier for me, but you don't always have those options. This tool here will do it. I had to mix and match on these parts right here to get it to where it would go. I mean, it wowed that out a little bit. It's kind of normal for things to not go exactly like they're supposed to. And this thing has been now used twice. The threads are getting chewy. And I lubricated this. Every time I used it, I put more lubrication on it. All kinds of extra parts for other things. But it does make the job a whole lot easier if you're in a position where you can't pull that strut out if you don't have a press. This one will do it. And you can do it with completely hand tools. It really is not fun, but it's an option. That's got this taken care of. I am going to head home and pass out, I hope. Like, comment, subscribe, hit your little bell notification, share it all around. We'll talk at you later.